We're going to make a male Automoblox figure next, and I'll start by making this square base down here, and the base is 0.575 by 0.575. So in Inventor, I'll create a new part and start a 2D sketch, and I'll go ahead and choose my rectangle tool, and that is going to be 0.575 by 0.575. Okay, now I can extrude this rectangle. I believe that shows me that in the next one, of 0.30. So I'll extrude this 0.30. And next I'm going to create this little pedestal that it's sitting on here by using some ellipses. So I want to create an ellipse on top of the square block that I just made, 0.236 by 0.155. So I'll start a 2D sketch on top, and I'll create an ellipse. So that's, if you don't see it, maybe under your circle tool, hit ellipse. And I want that to be, I'll dimension it here later, but I'm going to go ahead and create it now. And hit escape. I'm going to go ahead and dimension that. So if I choose here, that dimension needs to be 0.155. And then I'll choose dimension again, and this dimension needs to be 0.236. That ellipse is not centered very well, so I'm going to try to move it here. There we go. I'm going to undo that ellipse because I really need that to be probably drug straight out this way so that it's parallel. I'll try that ellipse again here, and I'll dimension it now. So here 0.155, and then here is 0.236, and then I can move that ellipse by hitting escape, and I need to grab the center point to move it. I'm going to draw a couple of construction lines so I can get that in the center. If I draw two diagonal lines from this corner to this corner, hit escape and do it again, from this corner to this corner, the center of that ellipse should be where those two lines meet, because that's the center of the so it looks like it's pretty much in the center there, so I'm going to delete those lines now. Just using those to get my center point correct. Alright, now I can hit finish sketch, and then I want to extrude that 0.115. So extrude this 0.115 and hit OK. Okay, that's the little pedestal that this figure is going to sit on. Now I really want it to be looking like that, so I'm going to change my bottom view to be my front view. So set current view as front, and then I want this view to be my home view, so I'm going to right click and do set current view as home, and that way when I go back to home or to the front it's sitting like this. Okay, so now I'm ready to actually create the the guy on the top of it. So what we're going to do is create another ellipse, and then we're going to use something we haven't used before, which is called a tapered extrusion. So in Inventor, let's start a 2D sketch here, and I'm going to go ahead and project geometry. So I'm going to project this ellipse. Now on that ellipse, I want to offset that ellipse. That ellipse needs to be offset 0.05 inches. And I'll hit Finish Sketch. Now I want to extrude this ellipse that I just made, but it's going to be a tapered extrusion. I'll show you where to find that. So we want to extrude this right here and the center, and I'm going to extrude that at 0.84 inches, but a tapered extrusion of 10 degrees. So I'll extrude it 0.84, and then your tapered is over here under the More tab, and I'm going to taper it 10 degrees. So you can see what it did here. So we created kind of the body of the Automoblox figure. Now we're going to create its shoulders, and this is a little bit more difficult. So we're going to create a mid-plane and then do something that's called slice graphics to create these shoulders of this Automoblox figure here. Now I don't think this measurement right here is right. I think that should be 0.6 because that's half of 1.2, so I'm not exactly sure where they're coming up with 0.8 there, but let's go ahead in Inventor. Let's go ahead and make a mid-plane. So I want to choose plane, and I want to make a mid-plane right here between the front and the back. And there's my work plane that I'm going to be working on. So I'll start a 2D sketch on this work plane, and over here on sketch, the sketch that you just made, right click on it and say slice graphics, and what that does is it creates a cross section so that you're really kind of inside the figure, and that's where we want to create this sketch at. So we're going to create an arc down here. We're going to we'll create this line, but then we'll create this arc that goes from one side to the other. So that line needs to be 1.2. And again, I think that this measurement should be 0.6. I'm going to go ahead and also, I can't make an axis right now. Let me go ahead and finish sketch right there. Let me go ahead and turn on an axis also so that you can see this. So I want to turn on through the center of a circle or an ellipse. So through the center of this ellipse, I want to create an axis because that's going to be my center point that I need. So you can see it made this yellow line going right through it. So now I'll come back over here to the sketch I was on and right click on it and say Edit Sketch. And again, I'll have to do Slice Graphics again. So right click and Slice Graphics. Move that down so we can see that. There's my work axis. Alright, so I want to make a line from just kind of going through this. It's 1.2 inches long. And I'll hit Escape now. And I'm going to make an arc now that goes from the end of this line to the other end of that line, and then it just goes to the top up here, so I want to kind of to be on the top there. And what's going to happen is we're going to be cutting out basically this part and this part to make it look like shoulders. Okay, so now that I have my arc, we're going to finish this out by going to the end of this arc down to here, and make sure you have a green dot, then over to here, a green dot again, and then up to here, and again a green dot. Those green dots are real important, otherwise you end up with problems on your sketch, and that when you do extrusions, that's sometimes you guys have problems extruding things, and the reason is because you haven't closed the figure out. Okay, so the extrusion that we're going to do this time, and we're going to choose this part and this part, is going to be an intersect extrusion, and we want it to be symmetrical. So it's going in both directions. So choose intersect and choose both directions and hit OK. Now you can't tell that it did much there, but it did make the top of this more curved than we had it a minute ago. Okay, so the last thing that we have to do is just to make the head on top of this figure. So we're going to go and use the same work plane that we were just on, and we'll just create half of this head and then we'll revolve it around. So I'll start a 2D sketch on the same work plane that we were just on. I'm going to go ahead and project this axis on there so that I can see that. And if you want to, you can slice graphics again. Okay, so now I'll create this head, and I'll just use a line tool first. So I'm going to start it here, and I'm going to go up. I think I'm going to go up like 0.5 inches, and then I'll need I'm going to zoom all again. I'm going to need an arc this time, so I'm going to go from here. I'm just going to choose another endpoint. They didn't give me measurements on this, but I'm just going to choose another endpoint, and then after I choose my other endpoint, I'm going to make it curve, and then I'll choose another line. So I'll go down kind of this way, and then escape, and then choose an arc again. So starting here, go to the other endpoint and click, and then make it curve. Okay, so that's my half of the head of the Automoblox figure. Now I want to revolve that. This is the profile. The axis needs to be this middle line here, and then hit OK. I can turn my work plane off, and that is our male Automoblox figure. So you can save that under your Geometry of Design folder as male Automoblox figure.